Newcastle Fans TV.
Hello, yous lot. How yous doing, Harry? Welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. Me and Jonny with you on this one. I'm not in control of the controls, so get your comments down there below. We wanted to talk about, and this was Johnny's idea, so fair play to him. He's going to be joining us in a second. Wanted to talk about loyalty points, away tickets, season tickets. Is it fair how it is currently at the moment? So this will be interesting to see what yous lot have to say on this. But first, as ever, we are proudly sponsored by the One Football app. Sam, what are you doing?
I'm just checking through all my football apps just to get some of the latest news.
Well, you don't need to. You need the One Football app. The One Football app sponsors Newcastle Fans TV, and it has all of the latest breaking news, putting loads of articles together. Even Steve Bruce is on there when he's been announced as West Brom manager recently. It's all up to date. The best thing about the app, it pings when there's breaking news. You need it, Sam. Get downloading the One Football app. The link is in the description for that. I'm
downloading it now.
And he's downloaded it and he's never off the app. He was saying the other day, whilst we're live, it's pinging. I'm finding out the goals before I find out the stream. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, I was doing that as well because I wasn't at the Brentford game. So I was finding out the goals were going in the One Football app before I was finding out on the stream. But yeah, have a look at it. Link is in the description. Proudly sponsor us. So thank you to those guys. Right, so back to the video in hand. What do you think of the loyalty point system right now? So before we hear from Jonny, the loyalty point system, how that works currently at the moment for away fans. So as you know, NFTV are at every single game. I wasn't personally at the last one, but Adam was for us. And how it works is the club will come out with a set criteria of certain points to go to a game. So normally you would say a big six will probably get more points. So, but recently, because we haven't had many tickets to go to away games, allocation by the home side that we're playing, and obviously we're coming to, like for example, Brentford, they only give us about 1,700. I might be wrong on that, but they go very, very quick, and the points were like 120, drops to 100, and so on and so on. It drops down. So the more away games that you go to, you get a point for each game that you tend to. Some people think that's fair. Some people don't, which is what we want to talk about at the moment. But I wanted to get Johnny's thoughts on it. Jonny?
For other fans watching, of other clubs, and we'd like to get your thoughts on this as well, because I don't think there's a perfect way of doing this and rewarding supporters who are season ticket holders that have been travelling to support their club. But in Newcastle's situation, you get 1 point for every away game you go to. To get that point, you have to be a season ticket holder, or at least a member that I believe. Now, for 1 point, you keep on tallying your points, and say, for example, use the Chelsea game as that's the next away game. To start by getting a Chelsea away ticket, you need 100 loyalty points just to try and get a ticket. Now, that's gone down and decreased by 10, by 20. I think it's at 30 or 40 loyalty points as we record at the minute. Now, this is just my point of view. Get your views in the comments. I'm one of the lucky people that is in a very lucky position because I've got over a certain amount of points. Now, I've got over 100 loyalty points. So, for me, unless it's a Brentford with a small allocation and a lot of loyalty points, I'm very rarely not going to be in a position that I can't get a ticket to an away game. Now, you only get that ticket for yourself. You can't get more tickets. You can't have, say one season ticket holder that can have 2 tickets. So it's just yourself. You're part of a travel group, which I am. I'm part of a travel group as well. So it's a very, very difficult one. Now, I don't think it's perfect. And if I take my side of it off and saying how fortunate I am, how do you get other supporters into games, new supporters in terms of new fans? Because they're not going to be able to afford to go to so many games. How can they get to 50, 100, 150? Do they have to do the trips that we all had to do? Is it fair? I personally don't think it is fair. I think you need to do something to make it a little bit easier. But what about those fans that have done those games? I can see both sides of it. I really, really can. Because the beauty about away games is that you go to wherever and you support your club. You could go to Wigan on a Tuesday night. You could go to Southampton. Fingers crossed we might even be in Europe in the not long too distant future, but just to support your club. Now, and you want to do that as many times as you like, but if you've got, say, under 20 loyalty points, especially now, you're going to find it extremely difficult to go to games away from home. The likes of a Chelsea, which probably will drop down to below 20 loyalty points, is on television, is in London, and it all adds up. The price adds up, but that's the price you have to pay to get your loyalty points up to a certain amount. So it is very, very difficult. And I think it probably works for the older fan that's been supporting the club. But if you're a new fan, especially in the situation that we are in, you're going to find it very difficult, very, very difficult to get more points and to go to more away games.
Cheers, mate. So what I wanted to move on to next is, should you get more points for further your travel or midweek games, for example? This is another one that's cropped up through the years for this. So, for example, trips to Brighton, Southampton, which I'm at as well, in Bournemouth, if they come up, that's a long, long trip, especially if you come from the Toon all the way down. Hey, that rhymed. If you're coming all the way down from there, should be granted another point, or should it be based on location? So, for example, I live in Newcastle. If I'm going down to Southampton, which I am, should that be the same as going to Leeds away, 1 point each? Should that be classed as 2 points? Should that be classed as a point and a half, for example? Or if a game gets changed, say 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, and it gets changed to a Tuesday or a Wednesday or whatever, should that be because it costs? Well, not cost more, it's time that Newcastle fans have got to find and travel to, say, a Burnley or a Manchester club within 2 or 3 weeks, and travel arrangements have got to be changed for train tickets, for hotels. I stay over quite a lot, especially if it's more than a 3-hour drive, because I have to edit and I've got to drive back, so I'll do that the next day. Should that be changed? I think so. I'm on that side. Like, if a game gets changed midweek, whatever drops down to where the club put it to 40 points, 50 points, 60 points, whatever it is, if you then hit that criteria, I think that should be at least a point and a half in my view, because it's last minute. You have to look around, and it costs, people don't realize, like, for me, for example, if I drive to London and back, that's 80 quid in fuel, because I don't like getting buses or coaches. I like to go my own pace, and sometimes I'll stay over, which is 30 quid, 40 quid sometimes. Sometimes I'm there for 2 days. So I might be spending money the next day if I'm in London, sightseeing or going and do stuff or whatever. If I've got family with us, whatever, that's more money because I'm there. But obviously the football is dictated around that. So I'm spending more money. It's not just a match ticket of 30 quid. So, yeah, I think that if they get changed last minute, I think it should be at least a point and a half. And I generally feel that, going back to the first question, I think it should be 2 points if it's like somewhere like Southampton or a Bournemouth or, someone like a Brighton, because these are really, really tough. This you're talking, and I'm lucky because I drive everywhere. But if I drive, you're talking 4 or 5 hours. People on the coaches are longer. Yes, they don't have to do as much work, because they're on a coach and they can relax. Whereas I'm driving, I'm focused all the time, so I'm mentally drained even though before I get there. But it's still a long time to sit on a coach from Southampton, though, because coming back from Southampton to Newcastle, that's at least 7 hours, because the coach driver will want at least 1 or 2 breaks. As you remember, a coach can only get up to 60 miles per hour. Johnny, what do you think?
I think Southampton, Brighton, or any London club, Norwich, maybe you can put them in that category. I think you should be awarded somewhere between 2 to 5 loyalty points to go to that game, because it is a long, long way. It does cost a lot more money, and you get rewarded more from the football club. Now, if you go to a Manchester or a Liverpool, I think that could almost be a cut-off point to go, where you only get that 1 point. And I think it helps those fans that want to try and that say, no, I'm not bothered about that ticket, maybe to actually go to those games. Just to put it out there, it probably counteracts my other point. How does that away fan, in terms of a new fan, get points if you get more points for all these games? They're not going to be able to catch up. You're not going to get that opportunity. But I do think it gives a bit more of a chance to supporters to go to these games. But Newcastle do sell out 99% of their away games. I think they've sold out every away game this season, pre and post takeover. So will it even make a difference? That's how I think you've got to look at it as well. But I do think that there's got to be somewhere in the future that, say you're a new season ticket holder and has less than, say, 20 loyalty points. If you go to Southampton away, Brighton away, maybe you should get 2 to 5 loyalty points, because you potentially have shown that extra support, if you like. Maybe that other fans in the certain category bracket in terms of loyalty points should be able to get. But I think it's a really, really interesting debate, and I'd love to get your views on that particular point, because I think that will probably be one of the more points that I think a lot of fans will differentiate with.
Cheers, Johnny, mate. And the next one we wanted to talk about was season tickets for next season. There's a massive demand. We've even noticed it now. If you look at the demand for home games, the atmosphere right now is electric because we're on a high. We've got new owners. Currently, we're 7 unbeaten. By the time someone watches this video, we might have had a slump, or we might have gone even further, longer unbeaten. However, the demand for next season is going to be incredibly tough if you're not already a season ticket holder. I would urge you, if you are wanting to get to St. James's Park, because we're expecting big things in the summer, big signings, get a season ticket, even though you might not be there every game. Guarantee your seat, because you can always sell the ticket. I've said that to one of two of our lads who aren't from the area. Get a season ticket, sell it if needs be. We can look after the card. That's what I've asked one or two of them to do, because the demand is going to be so harder to find a match day ticket. Yes, you might get a Brighton one or a Palace one, lesser games, but even them at the minute are struggling. You see people asking all over social media. You see it on our Facebook page, our Facebook group, Twitter. Can you retweet this? Can you give us this? Can you help us get a ticket? Unfortunately, we can't, because we're already there. It's stuff we can help retweet and stuff like that. But realistically, you want to ask like people who are specialised in that. And the demand is massive. And I think it's a good thing for the club, because that falls onto my next question, which will come out in a second. But the issue, I don't think I think it's an issue for fans who aren't there right now. However, the season tickets it's a good thing for the club because it's revenue. It's, can you ask for more? Johnny, what do you think?
It's going to be absolutely huge. I'm getting regular text messages. Johnny, can you help us get a ticket? Can you help us get a ticket? I want a ticket for the next home game, next away game, etc., etc. And this is not even when we potentially could battle to get in the top half. We're just above the relegation, so we're 14th as we record now, but 4 points off the bottom 3. We're still in the relegation battle, but the feel-good factor's in. We've got a team that looks like it's improving week in, week out, rather. And Newcastle just don't have the ground big enough at the minute at 52,000, which I think at the start of the season, I remember we played Southampton at the start of the season, and there was plenty of spare seats, plenty of spare seats. You could get a ticket on the day. That's not going to be the case now. Newcastle have 6 home games left. Brighton's sold out. Wolves will probably be sold out because being a Friday night. Well, all of them will be, because everybody wants a ticket, and the demand is absolutely going to be, it's ridiculous. And in terms of being a season ticket holder, well done. Congratulations this season, because if you get rid of your season ticket now, you will never get back into St. James's for the foreseeable future, because there is going to be so much demand. I wouldn't be surprised. There's 15,000, 20,000 potential supporters that want a season ticket. Now, I know Newcastle, I think, have a restriction of how many season ticket holders they can have. I don't know if it's about 40,000 that can have season ticket holders, because they've got to give a certain amount of away fans. So they normally get about a 3,000 allocation. So that takes around about a 49. And you need you need to have a certain amount of tickets to sell to other fans just to keep it going. And to members, it's very, very difficult. But if you're honestly, if you're a season ticket holder now, honestly, you're buzzing, because now there's a certain reason you can't go back. You should have your season ticket and you should be able to go to the games week in, week out, because you're so fortunate in the sense that the takeovers come at the right time. But I also thank those supporters, season ticket holders. Say you've been a season ticket holder for, say, the last 10, 15 years under Mike Ashley regime, and there's been times where you probably wanted to leave. You've kept a hold of your season ticket. You've kept a hold of your loyalty points. And now, if Newcastle can do well, touch wood, Newcastle, you could be watching Newcastle in Europe. You could be watching Newcastle in quarterfinals, semi-finals of cup competitions, in big Premier League games, hopefully in the future if everything comes according to plan. I know it's a big if, but it could potentially happen. And by God, you deserve that prize, that reward, because you've put up with a lot of poor performances over the last 10, 15 years.
Cheers, Johnny. So I wanted to move on to the next bit, which was, will it ever be a perfect scenario to fill that demand by expanding the stadium? Now, recently I've done the video on the weekend that Manda Staveley and Miada Gadusi have come out, both said we're not moving to a new stadium, but we can look at expanding St. James's Park. That's difficult at the minute, because you've got the listed buildings behind the East Stand, and then you've also got the RVI, hospitals getting back and forth using the road around St James's Park. Can they pull the Gallagher out? But then you've got to stop the land that's being bought next to St James's Park, literally right down where I next to work. So, and that's I think that's paused at the moment. Obviously, I know Ashley sold that land, but I think they've went not bankrupt, but I think it's paused at the moment. It could be on it might be wrong. It could be on the cusp of bankruptcy. They just haven't got the money to do it because of the pandemic. But the student flats are still going up behind the strawberry and everything. That's a different part of land, but realistically, that's probably the best scenario, because I think you look at the Milburn, you look at the Leases, I think that's fine. It looks beautiful. I think the Gallagher is probably the next bit where you can pull that out and squeeze in an extra 8,000 there or 10,000, whatever that can be done to put another tier up. But it'll cost a lot of money. You're going to have to keep the council happy, the hospital happy, and then the land that's paused at the moment. It doesn't look like there's any work going on. So that's probably the best criteria. And then, you know, Newcastle are expected to obviously splash big and the demand is there. Newcastle could quite easily sell out 60,000 every week. Very confident, another 8,000 quite easily. And it's interesting though, but I think it could happen to fill the demand. Look, do you need 80,000, 90,000 seat a stadium? No. If you look around the Premier League, Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea don't have huge attendances more than Newcastle. Chelsea have got less. So no, you probably don't. It helps. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps. But I'm going to get Johnny's thoughts on it, and he's going to wrap up today's video. Johnny?
I don't want to move away from St James's Park. I still think you can do more in terms of expanding the ground, maybe with a bit of communication with the council, how you can actually do that. But I think there's certainly scope for Newcastle to get to that 60, 65,000 in the not too distant future. Maybe not in the next 2 years, but I'm maybe looking medium to long term, so like 5 to 8 years. I think that ground will increase capacity some way or another. There are certain ways you can do it. There's certain theories. A lot of people have got their own suggestions on how they can do that. Where can Newcastle end up going though? And now I've had this debate with other people as well. I think Newcastle should do it step by step almost. So now they're at 52,000 capacity, go to 60, maybe 65, maybe 65 is probably the most for now. Let's see how successful the club can be, and can we get to 70, 75? I don't think, you look at the other clubs now, Arsenal 60,000, Spurs 60,000, West Ham 60,000, Manchester City 60,000, Liverpool get to 60,000 when they redevelop Anfield a little bit more. If you can get into that 60, 65,000, then we'll see how much more demand you can get a ticket. But I think for Newcastle right now, get to 65,000, still see if people want to get a ticket. And if that's the case, then try and see if we increase it. But don't move away from St James's. Please don't move away from St James's Park. It's got too much history. And like me and Dad could do, it'd be like ripping the soul out of the city. It really would. So I'm glad that the owners said it like that, because that's the music to my ears. But hopefully they can continue their promises, and hopefully Newcastle United will have that option where more supporters will get that chance to come and watch St James's, and that will help with your loyalty points. That will help going to more games. That will help the team. Of course, it'll help the team even more. So that could be a perfect scenario in terms of the loyalty points, because if you've got more people that want to go to games, it gives more of a chance to go to these away games if you're a season ticket holder as well. But it's going to be interesting. There's so many rights and wrongs to this debate. So please get your comments in. It'd be fascinating to get your points. If there's fans from the clubs, how do you do it? How do you do it in terms of rewarding supporters that want to go to away games? Can we copy how other fans do it? Because if you do it like that, it might benefit everybody. And if it's a more fair way of doing it, maybe that benefits both the supporter and the club. But again, a big thanks to Lee, who got his points on earlier on today. A big thanks for everybody watching. Subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV, and we'll see you all very soon.